just check is people coming in. Yes, we do see people coming in. Right, we just wait a moment for some more people to come in before we make a start.
Yep. Yeah, it's only top of the hour, isn't it? So.
Just wait for a couple of more seconds. We'll make a start.
Yep.
Okay, let's make a start then. Good morning, everyone, and welcome today to this webinar about Bluebeam Review Max. My name is Aranzi Mahmood from TCS CAD, and I'm delighted to host you today. For those who don't know about us, here at TCS, we're more or less a specialized design solutions provider, which help you provide the very best design, drafting, and document management solutions, helping your teams collaborate and faster and work more smarter as well. Today's session is about Bluebeam Max and its advanced AI-driven capabilities that automate repetitive tasks, enhance drawing visibility, and improve overall design review accuracy. And to take us through everything what we need to know, I'm joined today by our fantastic expert. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Martin Appleford Cook. Martin is a technical sales engineer and a solutions architect at Bluebeam. And with his incredible wealth of knowledge when it comes to maximizing your digital workflows. And today, he's going to show us what's achievable in Bluebeam Max. Just a quick housekeeping. If there's any, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end, but please free to drop any questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Martin. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. We just said, so welcome to this webinar. We'll be talking, as we said, mainly about Max. I will do a little bit around review when we first go into Bluebeam Review, the tool itself, just to make sure everyone's aware of what that does. But the key focus is on our new offering, which is Bluebeam Max. So there's 3 pillars to Max. And those are essentially the first pillar on the left hand side, as you can see, is all about AI and achieving this super user levels of productivity. So we have an integration to Claude, which is an LLM, a bit like ChatGPT and Copilot. We also have things like stitching and Magic Markups as well. So that's that first pillar, and we'll talk about this through just a few slides that we're going to do, and then we'll go into the actual tool itself. The middle pillar is catching those problems before they cost you. So running some AI tools over the drawings and the PDF files that you've got to catch those issues right back at the beginning. So before they get through review and costly sort of further down that line, try and catch those issues before. And again, we'll talk about those in more depth as we go through. And then lastly, one of the last pillars or the last sort of areas within Max is our new integration between Bluebeam Review and Revit. So before, you would have had to have gone into Revit, copied and created the comments from review into Revit, which is obviously a little bit of a time-consuming process. Now with this integration, what you can do is create the comments in review, and then you can see those comments in Revit. And again, we'll go through those a little bit more. So just on that first pillar, as I said, we've got integration through MCP. So for anyone who's not aware what MCP is, it's a way of integrating Windows apps together. So it was created by Anthropic, who created Claude. And so lots of other LLMs are using that now. So you can use Copilot and other LLMs to work through different apps and different tools within Windows ecosystem. So for us, that means that we can expose various parts of Bluebeam Review out into an AI tool. And again, we'll talk about that a bit more when we're in the live demo. But essentially, you can interact with Review just like you would in ChatGPT and any other AI tool. You can ask it questions, you can ask it to perform certain functions that have been exposed from Review into Claude, such as, build me a report on this or tell me all about these markups. Essentially, you can interact just as you would with any AI tool. Stitching. So previously for some users of many different types of tools, not just Bluebeam Review, but a number of tools, you might have had to take a really big document, or whether it's sort of large square document, or if you had a lengthy document like we've got here where we've got a road going through, and then you would typically chop that up so that you could then mark it up and work together and collaborate on it. Now with AI sort of powered stitching, you can bring those back together so that you can work on a single document inside Review, zoom in, add the markups. And what stitching does is works out exactly where the joins will be, the angles of the joins. So again, if you look at the screenshots there, you can see how if you bring those two or number of documents together, it glues them together where you select the lines and where you select the regions to do it. So again, rather than work on individual pages, take all those pages and glue them together, and Review will do all of that stitching for you, again, driven by AI. So a set of sort of new markups. So outside of the AI type features, we've got a new set of markups that are called Magic Markups. The first one is offset. So this is one that has been used or been requested quite a lot by our customers over the years because it's available in CAD tools. So you can create your markup and then choose to have an offset on the inside or the outside of that. And again, we'll show you that live so you can see how that works. But it does save a lot of time because you're not having to draw it separately. You're getting Review to do that for you. The other magic markups that are part of Max is the ability to duplicate and convert. So, previous to this, you would have, if you wanted to take an existing area or a polyline or, any type of markup that you might have added onto the drawing, if you wanted to duplicate that, but you wanted it as a different type of markup, so maybe I want to change it from an area to a polyline or vice versa, you would have had to redraw that. There's no way of copying it and pasting it as a different type of shape. So with duplicate and convert, I can take a number of markups, copy them, and then turn them into a different type, or I can convert them. So take it from an area, put it into a polyline, and then the area will disappear and the polyline will be created. So it's a great way of reusing content because, previously you might have created shapes, measurements, whatever, in the wrong type of format or the wrong type of style. Now you can just paint those and convert those over. So the next pillar, or the next part of that pillar, is fixing problems before they cost you. So that is where we're going to use an internal AI tool that Bluebeam purchased last year to help with assessing and checking drawings. So the first one is Smart Overlay. So already in Review, you can take drawings. So if you had 2 or 3 different drawings, and you can layer those on top of each other using the overlay feature in Review. So this takes it to the next sort of level, or next step, which is same thing. You can use those layers to show you the differences. And on the screenshot you can see there, it's showing you the difference between where the wall has moved to the left on Office 249 and 250. So similar to how it operates in the standard review feature, but what we're doing is actually then adding in where it will check for differences in terms of variance. It will also check for sheet sizes that might have changed, or maybe the page order or the page numbering. It will then give you that as a set of results on the right hand side. So duplicate, maybe there's two with the same drawing number. Obviously that might be an issue. So it gives you the standard overlay, but then uses AI to enhance that. The next smart feature is Smart Review. So again, this is using our own internal AI, not using Claude. And what this does is, as it says there, detect project documentation issues early. So that could be where you've got blank or missing sheets. It could be where you've got incorrect tags for various different elements on the drawing. Their example are door issues. So if you do have a schedule on the drawing for a list of doors or for a list of materials, and then none of that or some of that's referenced in the text, Smart Review will check that and it will suggest, right, there seems to be an issue. You've referenced 5 doors, but there aren't 5 doors in the drawing, or there are 10 sheets, but you've only got 5 of those numbered, and there could be duplicates. So it will draw up a cloud markup around the areas where it sees issues with any of those elements on the drawing. So it's looking at various different elements. At the moment, it's been trained on US commercial construction sort of standards, but obviously things like the scheduling and the issues and the numbers and things like that, that's standard. What it's currently being done at the moment with the software is it's being retrained on sort of European and UK standards. So we're expecting that imminently to help us with highlight some of these other issues around our standards as opposed to the US. So the last pillar, just before we get through to actually showing the software itself, is the connected studio sessions with Revit. So as I said at the beginning, traditionally you would create the drawing in Revit. So you would set up the drawing, you've got your floor plan, maybe choose a number of drawings. Then what you would do would be to create a PDF from that. So with Bluebeam's plugin inside Revit, you can click on the Bluebeam button and it will create a PDF from the drawing that you've got. You then go into Review, you create a session in Studio. So Studio is our project management or project collaboration tool where you can work together on drawings, either individually or at the same time. You would create a session where you can work on drawings at the same time, place the PDF that you exported from Revit into that session. Then you can invite any other users that you want to come into that session. So that could be someone else that is using Revit. You could invite as many users as you want. Then start to add your markups as you would do on any PDF in Review. So that could be measurements, it could be comments, whatever it is that you need to add onto the PDF itself. Start adding those to the tool. The person you've invited, that could be you or it could be anyone else that you've invited into the session, can then log in inside Revit into a connected session. As soon as they do that, they will then be able to choose the document that we added earlier into that session, and straight away inside Revit they now see the comments that were added via Bluebeam. So if someone else or myself is inside Review now and we start adding some more comments, within a few seconds they will show up inside Revit as well. So I haven't had to go back into Revit, I haven't had to create completely new comments in the same locations as they are in Review. Review is pushing that information through using those connected sessions. The other benefit is if you switch to a 3D view of that particular drawing in Revit, the 2D markups that you added in Review will also show up inside that Revit 3D view as well. So again, great way of positioning 2D and 3D markups. I haven't had to create those. They are then placed on there as well. And as you can see on the left hand side, which is a list of all of our markups that have come through from review, you've got the ability to see more details about each of them. You can also decide on a status as well. So is this comment relevant? Is it not relevant at all? And you can then set that priority. So some of those might be not important. They could go further down the list as well. If you change the status either in Revit or in Review, it will show up on the other tool as well. So if I've changed the status in Review to accepted, or if I've gone to accepted inside Revit, that will also change the status. So it's a bi-directional status update between the two. So if we now go into a live demo, you can see here I've got a number of files open from Review with some markups in it. So if we firstly go through and quickly talk about the Smart Review tools first. So this is the Smart Overlay and Smart Review. So just as a quick refresher for those that aren't familiar with Review so much, so maybe you've heard of it or maybe you've not seen it, Review itself allows you to take a PDF. So we only work on PDFs. Once you get the PDF in, you can then add your markups. So those markups could be, for example, comments, they could be measurements, they could be symbols. Anything that you add onto the tool floats on top of the drawing itself and then will show up in the markups list down the bottom. So if I click on this particular one, for example, as it's not showing up, let's just pick on this one. So I've now got, there we go, my machine catching up. So I've now clicked on this particular markup here, which is a Cloud Plus markup. Down in the bottom in our markups list, this is how you track markups that have been placed into any of the drawings or any of the pages. So it will tell you what it is, what page it's on, what the comment is, who the author is, what date it's on. If there's any measurements, it'll show the measurements, and then you can set a status against it as well and change colors and things like that. So effectively, Review allows you to work together on PDFs, multi-page, single page PDFs, work on it, add your markups. That can then be saved. Other users can come in, add their markups, add measurements, check measurements. You can do things like counts, highlighting. You can also, place things like images on the drawings as well. So there's a whole host of other features that we're not going into today. But if you're not familiar with Review, it's a great tool to allow you to collaborate together on those PDF drawings. So if we go back to the Smart Review and Smart Overlay. So the Smart Overlay tool allows us to take an existing drawing, either one that you've got open in your tab. So I could do open files. I can do open files. You'd select the file that you want on each of them, then click on continue. It would then send that off to a server, which is based in the UK, which is our AI server. So this again is separate from Claude. That will then perform an overlay on the tool itself. So if we then go into our web view, so the moment that's finished processing, it will open up a browser. It will take you to Bluebeam Cloud, which is where you can look at PDF documents. You can work on Studio, which we mentioned earlier, or you can go in and see the results of that particular smart overlay that we've done here. So you can see a few that I've pushed through. If we then go into that particular file, it'll give me a preview of the drawing itself. The original version is in red and the new version is in green. So if I subtract something from version 1 to version 2, that will show up in red. If I add anything new, that will show up in green. So that's Review basically showing you on this particular document. So this is 2 layers, but you could have 3 layers or 4 layers, 4 different versions if you wanted to. So from the first version that was brought in, you can see that Review has recognized that someone has deleted this pathway and some of the areas within the external area of the building. They've also added a number of these circles here where the plants could be, for example, in the landscaping. So straight away I can see what's been removed, what's been added. It's also giving me scores around the sheets as well. So, if sheets are missing, if sheets have been duplicated, it will give us information based around that as well. So it's taking that standard functionality of overlaying the drawings, showing us what's changed, but also performing some smart features around where pages may have been removed, pages might not have been numbered, or even things like if the drawing on one is different size to the other, it will highlight that as part of that review process. The second part of the smart features is the smart review itself. So here what you do, similar to the smart overlay, except we're not choosing two different ones to compare. What we're doing is actually bringing in either an existing document that we've got open or a new document. And I would like our AI tool to then go in and analyze that. So you choose your files just as we did before, give it a title, click on continue. It then opens up the web view again, just as we did before. So now we've got this smart review in here. The difference this time is we've now got an overview dashboard of everything that it's found. So what issues are existing still compared to the last time that we ran this on this particular document. So it gives us that view of high, medium, and low issues. We can then click on issue mitigation. That will bring up the drawing itself. So there's a number of pages in here that we've got. So we've got that landscape one that we've got in there. And over on the left-hand side, we've got 4 issues, for example. So if we click on the first one, issue number not unique, that will take us straight to the page and the area that it's found that it's not unique. So A2.2.1 might have been used a couple of times throughout this. So again, if there is a schedule on one of the drawings that lists all of the actual pages with their page numbers, Smart Review will check that and then check in the block on each of those pages where there's an issue, for example. If we click on the next one, this will show us, for example, where the reference sheet is missing. So we've got fountain C A8.002. It's not found anywhere. So this reference sheet cannot be found in the drawing set. So obviously it's missing, or it hasn't been there, or this is the wrong number. So again, you're trying to capture these issues right at the beginning when you first get the documents, before you start processing, before you start marking up. So both of those, Smart Review and Smart Overlay, gives you that ability to review those documents. So if we start, let's just go back to the other magic tools. So if we go and bring up another floor plan with a number of area measurements on it, we can sort of show some of those magic tools that we were talking about earlier. So if I click on this particular area measurement, traditionally you wouldn't have the ability to add this new Max feature, which is convert. So I could take this existing area measurement and I could turn that into a poly length. So as soon as I've done that, you can see it's now changed from that area measurement. It's now a poly length down in the bottom on our markups list. Maybe with this one at the top, maybe I want to, again, convert that or duplicate that. I want to keep the area measurement, but I quite like a cloud in there as well around that particular area. So if we move that out of the way, you can see I've still got the existing area measurement, but I've also got a cloud markup that's been placed on that as well. So it's a great way of creating new from existing markups. Sometimes the scenario might be that I've created it originally on the drawing and I really should have put in a different type of markup. Now I can change that straight away, or I can duplicate it as well. The third one is offset. So with offset, as we mentioned before, we can now choose a particular shape or markup that we've got, and we can create an offset from that. So that can be inside or outside. You can set the distance, either in millimeters or meters or centimeters, whatever it is that you want to do. Do I want it to replace the existing markup, or do I want to keep it and then actually add a new markup to that as well? So I could keep my area, and then maybe I want a boundary around that particular area for, I don't know, plasterboard or whatever it is that I might be putting on those walls themselves. So create a new one from it, or create a new one and delete the existing one, either internally or externally. And obviously you could keep creating that infinitely, as many as you want. So you've got duplicate, you've got convert, you've got offset, should you want to be able to do that as well. And then the last one before we go into Claude and the AI part is the stitching tool. So with the stitching, as I mentioned before, you've got the ability to take a drawing or a number of drawings and glue them together. So that could be lengthwise, vertically. It could be that you might have 9 drawings that form a large square. You can choose each of the regions that you want to glue together. So I'll go in and I'm going to glue this left-hand side. I'm going to add a match line to that, so where I want that to glue it together. So I've now got a match line next to it. I've got the region that I want to do, and then we'll go to page 2, same thing. And again, you would just repeat this for however many sections that you want to bring in together. Here's my region, and the regions can be, it doesn't have to be particularly rectangular. It could be a cutout that you do yourself. You're not restricted to the type of shape that you do. So I've now got that as 2 match lines. I then need to join the match line or tell it whereabouts, because if I've got multiple drawings, there's going to be different match lines. So I've now selected the match line 1 from the previous page to this one in here. So I've got those match lines lined up so they'll know where to glue that together. Click on Stitch Drawings, and hopefully if my machine behaves itself today. There we go. So that's created a completely new drawing. This was the original. The new drawing is in here. It will keep those separate, just so if it hasn't quite aligned it perfectly, generally it has quite a good go. But if you did need to, move it pixel by pixel, you've got the ability to zoom in and just, if you did need to sort of fine do that again. So if you had 8 or 9 or however many sections, you can go in and fine tune that to make it. And obviously then once you're happy, you could flatten that down so that you've then got that. So again, powered by our AI server, or in this case, it's actually AI built into Review itself, brings those 2 drawings together, and you can use as many as you need against that. So if we now go to Claude, so I've got my Claude desktop running here. So this is the AI tool that we currently use for integration. So if I just put these side by side. So you can see that. So we've now got our drawing in here. And you can see on some of these, I've actually got a number of different ones in here. So what you can do is essentially ask Claude to perform a number of different functions against what we've exposed from Review. So at the moment, in the first version, and Max is about 3 or 4 weeks old, what you can do is interact with Review and ask it certain tasks. So those tasks center mainly on the markups list. So I can update the markups list. I can extract data from the markups list. I can insert new values in new columns in the markups list. So if I had a number of items like counts, or if I had some measurements, I could ask Claude to multiply that out by a formula, insert the total in a new column if I want to do that. I can remove items from the markups list. I can add shapes and markups onto the drawing. So I could say, Claude, add 4 rectangles equally spaced across the top of this particular page and make them red, for example. It can do that. So if you want to multiply, or it could take an existing markup and multiply that out so that you've got a grid of those as well. But the key focus in this very first version is that markups list. So I've got that ability, as you can see on this particular prompt, where I've asked Claude to go into Review and say I would like a management summary of all of the markups that are in Review at the moment, and give me that summarized by user or author and the status of those particular markups. So we've got 25 markups, 5 authors, breaking it down into each of them, and then down the bottom, it's giving us a status breakdown. I could also, like many AI LLM tools, I could upload a file into here. So I could add a file that would be a template, and I could say, right, take the markups, and I would like you to then put those existing columns in the markups list into this format in the template that I've uploaded. So previously with Review, you can export as a CSV and then do whatever you need to do with that data. With Claude, I'm not restricted to just CSV. I can take that data, I can manipulate the data, and I can output that into a number of different ways that I want to. So for example, in my project, where's my little project? So in here, for example, once it catches up, you can see on this particular drawing that we've got here, which is a plumbing floor plan, I have asked Claude to go in and find the two-letter words for each of the elements on the drawing. So I've told it for sinks, for WCs, for urinals, to go into Review and actually find those, count them, color them in the same way. So if there's 4 WCs, color those all in blue, for example, and then place that as markups on the drawing, but also in the markups list as well. So you can see here where it's gone through, it's summarized those. So it can find text in a markup, in a PDF, it can label it, it can count it, it can create a report from it. What it can't do in this first version is completely analyze the drawing and do auto takeoffs like areas or width of walls and things like that. Those features will be coming down the line. So one of the features that's in alpha at the moment is where you can submit a drawing and it will give you suggested area measurements on a particular floor plan, for example. But in this incarnation that I've got here, this particular request or prompt that I did, I've asked it to give me that information, provide that, and then if I want to, I can then export that out as a management report as well. I've also done a similar one in this oil and gas sort of P&ID diagram, where I've gone in and I've asked it to label any of the 4-digit or 5-digit codes in here, mark it up, and then give me a summary of that down the bottom. So you can interrogate the drawing. You can ask it to search for particular things if it's textual based, just not sort of visual based at the moment, but those elements will be coming. You can also set up projects in Review in Claude where you can give it the ability to pre-add projects in there as well. So I've got this project here. So you'll see now that I've clicked on that project, what I can ask it to do is I've said hello. In this particular project, I've given it a set of prompts and I've said, right, the first prompt is title block compliance, the next prompt is markup review summary, the next prompt, and so on and so on. Each of those sections means that I don't need to come back the next time and say, right, I need you to go away and find all the title block compliance in these drawings, go on and create that prompt. Instead, I give the prompt, I give it a set of instructions, put that in a project in Claude, and this active project, which is the one I've created here, allows me to go in and just type a number. So I've asked it to go in and do markup review summary, which is number 2. It's then gone away. It's created taken the prompt that I've pre-populated. It's done the report, and then at the bottom of it, it's then created a web page in that as well. So it's now giving me that summary in a web page and in an Excel document as well. So the Claude integration offers you that ability to take all that information, do whatever it is that you want to do with it inside that AI tool, which is, you know, unlimited. It could be reports, it could be putting information back into Review. I have seen customers recently where they've got a list of markups, they've got extra information they want in those markups. They take that, add it to Claude, and then tell Claude to inject that back into the PDF itself. And then that enriches the data in the markups list, which then they can take back out and put into a report as well. So I hope that I'm just making sure we've got enough time for questions and any comments that people have got. Is there any comments in the? I can't see the comment tab at the moment, but are there any comments at the moment, or is everyone happy and they all understand?
Do we have any questions, guys? We're happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Everyone's nice and quiet.
Yeah, it looks like it's nice and quiet at the moment. No doubt, my team will be in contact with everyone who's joined the chat, joined the session today. So if there's any other questions or any other detailed workflow kind of questions, we're more than happy to answer as well. Even if we need to do another demonstration with each one of you individually, we're more than happy to do that as well. But yeah, Martin, that's perfect. Thank you very much for presenting that, and it looks very promising with the new features. What's going to be happening as well with Bluebeam Max? It's growing strong and stronger every week. Every time we receive an update on Bluebeam Max as well.
Yeah. Like we say, there's lots of features currently in alpha and beta. Like we said, the sort of smart auto takeoff type features, the smart review, a lot of that's being updated at the moment. So in the next quarter, there'll be a new release of that with those new features. So we're hoping to bring out and expand on this sort of foundation first first sort of version of it. So
Perfect. Yeah, makes sense. And guys, if there's any questions, please reach out to us. Our team will reach out to you. So if there's any other questions, and thank you for joining us today.
thank you very much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
24.